Welcome back to Indonesia Pavilion. Hope you all have a good break and enjoy Dubai while staying here. Good morning, Vice Minister of the Ministry Environment and Forestry Republic Indonesia, Dr. Alwe Dohong. Thank you for joining us in this session. Pak. So today we'll be discussing around the topic, it's collaborative approaches, how to strengthening sustainability in commodity and food systems, land use and restoration governance through integrated landscape management for multiple benefits for Indonesia. So Indonesia forests are already threatened by continuous deforestation and forest degradation due to unsustainable natural resource management. Globally traded commodity crops that expands to the forest and inappropriate use of agri-chemical on rice production are some of the examples. So today, we're going to explore how to strengthening sustainability in these sectors to make substantive contributions towards transformations of global food systems in Indonesia. And we are going to discuss as well what are the potential of Indonesia's food system based on the integrated landscape management. So before we proceed, let's welcome our keynote speaker. He's the Vice Minister of Ministry of Environment and Forestry Republic Indonesia, Dr. Alwe Dohong.
Tes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita semuanya. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Saya campur aja bahasa Indonesia sama bahasa Inggris karena setelah saya lihat cuma ada satu yang mungkin tidak bisa bahasa Indonesia ya. Ya. Jadi para pembicara yang saya hormati, nanti ada Ibu Musdalifah, ada Prayudi Samsuri, ada Rizal Effendi, ada Ibu Diah, dan yang saya hormati dan saya banggakan nih Pak Pasaribu ya, dari Banggar DPR RI ya. Mohon maaf Pak, saya lupa nyebutin Bapak yang pertama kali. Kemudian Bapak Ibu Dirjen, and all distinguished participants from overseas. First of all, I would like to express my sincere thank you for all your participation on this special event entitled Collaborative Approaches on Strengthening Sustainability in Commodity and Food System, Land Use and Restoration Governance through Integrated Landscape Management for Multiple Benefit Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, we recognize the vital roles of the forest ecosystem in terms of economic, ecology, and social culture, and also very important of tropical forests in particular to address climate change. So that's why in our nationally determined contribution, we put forestry and land use sector as the one of the major driver of our nationally determined contribution as our commitment to the Paris Agreement. In our first NDC and now become an enhanced NDC that we submitted to the UNFCCC in last September 2022, we commit to transform to low carbon economy and build resilient into food, water, and energy system, which primarily comprises action in the agriculture, forestry, and other land uses, or we call it AFOLO sectors, which contain element of sustainable agriculture plantation, integrated watershed management, reduction of deforestation and forest degradation, sensibly land conversion, utilization of degraded land for renewable energy, and improve energy efficiency and consumption patterns. But there are considerable challenges associated with cheap, those elements as I mentioned previously. As the largest producer of palm oil globally, as well as a top 10 of producer of cacao, coffee, and rice, and as well as the largest population in the Southeast Asia, with more than 270 million people, Indonesia, have the challenge or have the domestic demand for these commodities and crops substantially. So we produce this crop not only for export, but also for the domestic consumption. We have to note, however, that unsustainable management of globally traded commodities crop like cacao, coffee, palm oil, and so on, and their expansion into the forest areas, sometimes leading to major impacts of globally important biodiversity, degradation of soil and water resources, and loss of carbon stock, and degradation of watershed that we recognize as a vital for maintaining water flows for rice production areas. Rice production itself a source of globally significant environmental impact, notably in form of contamination of soil and globally important aquatic ecosystem due to excessive and inappropriate use of agricultural chemicals and the generation of methane. Methane is one of the potent GHG emission, notably from the flooded padi system. O kita sebut untuk padi rawa ya atau sawah. A narrow focus on the production of globally traded cash crop by farmer is environmentally, socially unsustainable. Even in the case of perennial crops such as coffee and cacao that have the potential to yield environmental benefits if appropriate managed. Because the volatility of global markets of this crop and their vulnerability to the effects of the global climate change. A large number of major global value chain actors have committed to sustainable sourcing of products that they are trade in order to comply not only with corporate social responsibility, not only to put into their ESG report, but also in terms of environmentally responsibility goals. Of course, also to satisfy the consumer that requires sustainable and environmentally benign products. This represents farmers with a major potential source of market-based incentive for sustainable production. Jadi kalau kita laksanakan kegiatan produksi pertanian, kakao, padi, dan lain-lainnya dengan secara berkelanjutan dan ramah lingkungan, maka potensi untuk menerima insentif ekonominya bagus. However, their ability to take disadvantage of this opportunity is constrained by their disconnection from this green value change and their limited technical capacity to satisfy their requirement in terms of environmental standard, product quality, and reliability of supply. In 2021, participant of the FACTS dialogue, we call it, Forest, Agriculture, and Commodity Trade Dialogue, informed by multi-stakeholder task force, held a discussion on 4 thematic and related areas there are. First is trade and market development. Second is smallholder support. Third is traceability and transparency. And fourth is research and development, as well as innovation. Informed by the principle of collaboration, the 4 thematic working groups under the leadership of co-facilitator shared ideas, exchange best practices, and discuss action that countries can take forward in collaboration. Drawing on this, co-chair of the United Kingdom and Indonesia, we have identified the action for further discussion, development, and implementation as appropriate. These actions are not exhaustive, non-binding, and do not apply in all circumstances of all countries. This is a work in progress with participants expressing their desire to deepen collaboration at the COP28 2023 in Dubai this year. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, the Resilient of Food System program fosters sustainability and resilience by creating or strengthening institutional framework, scaling up integrated approaches, and monitoring as well as assessment of global environmental benefits. Given the fact that increasing demand for food is one of the major drivers of the biodiversity loss, land degradation, and depletion of water resources during the 7th Global Environmental Facility Assembly, held in Vancouver, Canada last year, food and system land use and restoration impact, or POLUR, different from POLU, but this is POLUR, will support effort to ensure the productive lands are embedded within landscapes that provide ecosystem services, as well as protect natural ecosystem and soil on which they depend on. The Followers Impact Program will support effort to design systems to protect our planet biophysically processes and resources, absorb GHG emission, provide nutritious and affordable food for the growing number of people worldwide, and strengthen the resilience and prosperity of rural population. Achieving this transition will require a holistic, system-wide approach integrating both horizontal, namely land and natural resources, and vertical, namely food value and supply chains dimension. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, in order to accommodate differences between countries with respect to opportunities for leveraging GF financing, the impact program focuses on 3 interrelated priorities. First, promoting sustainable food system to tackle negative externalities in entire value chains. Second, promoting deforestation free agriculture commodity supply chains. And third, promoting large-scale restoration of degraded landscape for sustainable production and ecosystem services. The Followers Impact Program seeks to transform food and land use system and help countries reconcile competing social, economic, and environmental interests by moving away from unsustainable sectoral approaches into sustainable and benign approaches. GF support will help countries meet the growing demand for increased crop and livestock production while eliminating the risk of further expansion of farmland into natural high biodiversity habitats and forests, and erosion of genetic diversity, over exploitation of land and water resources, overuse of chemical fertilizer, pesticide, and inefficient practices that lead to GHG emission. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, Our commitment to keep facts and follow initiatives are alive and striving is unwavering. I eagerly anticipate the productivity and conclusiveness of the discussion in this special session, as well as we all might aware, embarking on Polar Indonesia project is challenging journey, full of dynamic to get beyond simple switches. The real magic happens through collaboration, where institutions and multi-stakeholders unite, becoming the essential key that unlock the exchange of knowledge and resources. This collaborative spirit that empowers us to confront future challenges with confidence, transforming obstacles into opportunities and stepping stones toward triumphant forest system land use and restoration. With this, I conclude my remarks and thank you very much for all your kind attentions. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, our Vice Minister, for the keynote. And as he mentioned earlier, it's all about collaborative approach. So today, we have invited few speakers from different government sectors, various ministry, as well as our private partner to talk about how do we work together in achieving this FOLU, as well as through the landscape management for the benefits of Indonesia. So let's commence the discussion by inviting our moderator for today's discussion. She is the Assistant Deputy Minister of Agribusiness and Horticulture, CMEA, as National Project Director of FOLU Indonesia. Let's welcome Ibu Yuli Sri Wilanti.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Dear distinguished speaker and guests, it's a pleasure to be here to get involved in the talk show of Indonesian Pavilion. I am Yuli Sri Wilanti, representative of Coordinating Ministry for Economic Affairs. I am serving as moderator for talk show today. And for today, we have 5 expert and professional speakers that are ready to talk about the collaborative approach, strengthening sustainability in commodity and food system, land use, and restoration governance through integrated landscape management for multiple benefits. Curious about the speaker? Okay, we would like to invite the speaker. The first speaker, Dr. Musdalifur Mahmud, the advisor to the Coordinating Minister for Connectivity, Service Development and Natural Resources, Coordinating Ministry for Economic Affairs. Please welcome Bu Musdalifah. And the second speaker, Dr. Rizal Afandi Lukman, Secretary General of Council of Palm Oil Production Countries. Please welcome Pak Rizal. The third speaker is Mrs. Diah Sudari Joja, Senior Advisor for Sustainability and Climate Change, Indonesia Biodiversity, in charge of the Secretariat Fact Dialogue. And also we have 2 speakers that joined by Zoom meeting. The first one is from Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Muhammad Fauzan Ridon, the Head of International Marketing Team for Estate Crop Product. Pak Fauzan, can you hear me? And also, the last one, the 5th speaker is Dr. Imam Suharto, Head of Cocoa Sustainability, Olam Food Ingredient. Halo Pak Olam. Pak Imam from Olam.
Ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ya. One more, Pak Fauzan, are you already in the Zoom meeting? Okay, maybe we can wait for Pak Fauzan. Let's restart for the discussion and the presentation from the speaker. I would invite the first speaker is Ibu Dr. Musdalifah Mahmud that will talk about transformation management of palm oil, cocoa, coffee, rice-based food system and landscape in Indonesia. Within 10 minutes, please welcome Dr. Ibu Musdalifah Mahmud.
Thank you, Ibu Yuli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to all of you. Honorable Bapak Wakil Menteri LHK, Bapak Dirjen Konservasi Sumber Daya Alam. Mudah-mudahan saya tidak salah sebut karena sudah beberapa kali berubah ya Pak ya. Bapak Beni Pasaribu, tokoh kita Pak ya, dulu banggar di DPR Pak. Jadi Pak Dirjen, masih Dirjen ya, PPH ya Pak ya, PHL, maaf ganti-ganti melulu, dulu pengusahaan dulu zaman saya pengusahaan hutan, and now you are PHL ya. Pak Agus Justianto and also all other participants, honorable speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to express my greatest gratitude and appreciation to all of you who attend in this morning to have this hybrid talk show, namely collaborative approaches on strengthening sustainability in commodity and food system, land use and restoration governance through integrated landscape management for multiple benefit in Indonesia. Very long title, I think. Yeah. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, talk about sustainability. We need to talk about how to make it real, balancing social, economy, and sustainability, and environmental. This basic principle on the sustainability in the global is not, we will not only has as a narrative, good narrative, sounds good in terms of the globally, sounds good in the mythos, in many things. We need to know how we can elaborate to implement in the whole producer country. We are Indonesia as the producer country of the fourth main focus on this collaborative program. We have cocoa. We are the third producer in the global, but now become maybe around 5 or 7 because of the decreasing, because of the pest disease in the crops. And we are the fourth producer of coffee in the global. And if we talk about palm oil, we are the first producer in the world. And 40% of the, to fulfill the need of the vegetable oil in the global coming from palm oil. And the utilization of land in the all vegetable oil in the global, only 8%. So if we talk about sustainability, we will talk about how can palm oil can fulfill the need of vegetable for the all people in the world. In this occasion, I would like to show you the real implementation that we would like to learn in the field. Through collaborative approach, strengthening sustainability in commodity and food systems. We talk about food system. Indonesia, our main staple food is rice. In this program, we also put rice as the one of the collaborative approach to achieve integrated landscape management for multiple benefit in Indonesia. Because if we talk about economic commodity, we talk that they need to fulfill their own people who live around the forest. And the people who live around the forest are smallholders who work with rice, with coffee, with rubber, with cocoa, and with palm oil. So to restore our forest, restore governance through integrated landscape management for multiple benefit Indonesia, it means that we need to learn how we can have landscape management sustainability through this product. So in this occasion, in this event, we would like to show you how we will drive our project. And I'm proud to announce to all of you that this is the first project using collaborative approach because 5 ministries in line working together. We coordinating Ministry of Economic Affairs as a lead, and Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Bapenas, how to call Bapenas ini, Ministry of National Planning and Ministry of National Development Planning, Ministry and all, and then to UNDP to support technical support it from UNDP and FAO. This is the first project implemented in Indonesia, working together, collaborative approach, because we would like to intensify how that this program can show us how to develop landscape management with multiple benefits, economy, social, and environment, working together and live in harmonize, and also the people who live around can increase their income through this product. Ladies and gentlemen, Folur project will be implemented in 5 jurisdictions, namely Central Aceh in Aceh Province, who has around 3.5 million hectares of forest. And also Mandailing Natal in North Sumatra, Sanggau, West Kalimantan. West Kalimantan, one of our Borneo forest, tropical forest, the largest tropical forest in the world. Luwu, South Sulawesi, and Sorong in Papua, Southwest Papua, with only 12% of this area utilized for our economy, for our living. So it means mostly the area in Papua still in the forest area. Talk about this, we already prepared the video of food system, land use, and restoration to let you know better about this project. Because we just started from this year, and we hope we can work until next 5 years. And through this video, I hope that no intervention in this video. No, we just what you see is about what the real fact in the land. And we are now talking about deforestation. You can have a look. How far we can taking care of forests without taking care the people who live around the forest. Thank you very much. So, let's see.
Folur, Food System, Land Use and Restoration Project under CHEF 7, specifically focused on generating multiple benefits for biodiversity, climate change, and land degradation through integrated landscape management, sustainable and resilient commodity production and farming system, and participatory restoration and forest governance. Indonesia is a mega diverse country and one of world's largest producers of oil palm, cocoa, rice, and coffee. Approximately 64% of Indonesia's total land area is classified as forest land, representing some of the largest carbon stock in the world. The total forest area is approximately 120.3 million hectares, and non-forest area is 367.5 million hectares. Roughly 18% of the forest area is categorized as conservation forest, 25% as protected forest, 47% as production forest, and 10% as convertible production forest. Yet, Aceh Province. Target District Central Aceh. Commodity coffee. Target issue spatial autonomy. Gayo specialty coffee with a high demand in the world. Human-wildlife conflicts. Primary forest coverage with logging moratorium in the province. North Sumatra Province. Target District Mandailing Natal. Commodity, oil palm, and coffee. Key issues, oil palm and coffee encroaching into state forests. Lack of productivity driving expansion. Smallholders have limited access to green value chains. Human-wildlife conflicts. Land degradation naturality hotspots for Indonesia. West Kalimantan Province. Target District Sanggau. Commodity target oil palm. Key issue lack of enforcement. For example, enforcement on revoked concession areas and forest fire. Primary forest and peat land in province. Land tenure conflicts. Transformation from rubber to oil palm. South Sulawesi Province, Target District Luwu. Commodity, rice, and cocoa. Key issue, expansion of clove into forest by people from neighboring districts. Watershed degradation affecting rice production systems. Extensive land degradation in some areas of the province. Expansion of cacao production into forests in some areas of the province. Southwest Papua Province. Target District Sorong. Target commodity oil palm. Key issue customary tenure, frontier landscape, primary forest coverage, spatial autonomy, sustainable development province, high ecotourism potential, and revoke concessions areas. Oil palm, coffee, cocoa are 3 of 5 globally traded commodities specifically targeted by the Volur Impact Program, for which growing demand as resources of raw material for global commodity trade in increased deforestation risk worldwide. While rice is one of the globally important staple food crops, the sustainable global supply of which is jeopardized by environmental degradation and the value chains of which are associated with loss of natural habitats, erosion of genetic diversity, overexploitations of land and water resources, overuse of chemical fertilizer and pesticides, increased greenhouse gas emissions, and inefficient practices that lead to food loss and waste. Indonesia plans to transform to low-carbon economy and build resilience into its food, water, and energy systems, primarily comprise actions in the agriculture, forestry, and other land use sectors. For example, sustainable agriculture and plantations, integrated watershed management, reduction of deforestation and forest degradation, land conversion, utilization of degraded land for renewable energy, and improve energy efficiency and consumption patterns. The project aims to foster and strengthen sustainable value chains of palm oil, coffee, cocoa, and rice through implementation of comprehensive landscape management approach, integrating biodiversity conservation, ecosystem restoration, and the sustainable production of cash and food crops at scale. The project has selected 5 target geographies, each one corresponding to provincial administration boundary, or we call it jurisdictions, and containing 1 key district considered the intervention landscape based on the criteria below. 1. Production landscape that remains critical for global environment benefits, but where remaining forests are threatened by expansion of commercial commodities. 2. Production landscape or system for globally important food crops or livestock that creates major externalities. 3. Frontier landscape where opportunity exists to preempt expansion and get ahead of commercial-driven forest loss. And the last, number 4, highly degraded landscape in need of restorations for the ecosystem services they provide to agricultural productions. The project is closely aligned with the National Medium-Term Development Plan, or we call it RPTMN 2020-2024, regarding the objective to mainstream green growth and low-carbon development. There is a significant potential for project to generate multiplier impacts beyond target jurisdiction through scaling up the integrated approaches to other parts of Indonesia. Further, the project will promote equitable representation and participation of women and men in landscape governance and management. Specific considerations of special needs of both men and women in conservation and or restoration of ecosystem functions and services will also be demonstrated. Volur Project Indonesia, collaboration for community, commodity, and conservation. Together, better.
Thank you very much, Dr. Musdalifah, for the resources presentation and video. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's move to the second speaker from the Ministry of Agriculture, Bapak Muhammad Fauzan Ridho, Head of the International Marketing Team for Estate Crop Product. Please, Pak Fauzan, 10 minutes from now. Pak Fauzan, are you in the... Yeah. Pak Fauzan already in the Zoom meeting?
Ya Mbak, she is there.
Hello.
Okay,
Yes,
Pak
Bu. So
Fauzan.
sorry. The screen is locked. Thank you, Bu Yuli, Assistant Deputy for Agribusiness and Horticulture. So in this event, I will to thank for the opportunity. I'm so sorry for the not attending at there. So I represent our director, Pak Preudi, and currently our director has assignment from the Minister Agriculture to the Luwu Regency. So I think this is our presentation of the representation of him. So maybe I can screen out there, or the committee share screen of there, Bu. So I can screen at there, Bu, ya. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. This presentation I will to present for the Indonesian palm oil, cocoa, and coffee, a sustainable and resilient production and farming system. Next. In this slide, as is now the slide, Indonesia has a strategic role in fulfilling global food and agriculture needs. So with the population of 270 million people, of which 70.7% are productive eggs, it's not impossible that in the future Indonesia can become the world food basket. So this is available from human resources land that supporting agricultural cultivation, and agriculture also mean that Indonesia has strategic support to make it happen. Currently, Indonesia is the world number one producer and exporter of palm oil, the world number 3 producer of cocoa, and the world number 3 producer of coffee. So what should be noted is the Indonesian government is very seriously about fulfilling food and agriculture through strategic policy, increase crop production and productivity, especially estate crop commodity. So that the transformer of Indonesian agriculture and food system determines the future of the world food and agriculture. Next slide, please. In this slide, palm oil is still a driving force of the Indonesian economy in the agriculture sector. It can be seen palm oil still has contributed of 84% to volume of Indonesian estate crop product for export, and contribute of 75% at the value of Indonesian estate crop product of export. So Indonesia still has a potential commodity of continue encourage increasing export, namely rubber, processed coconut, coffee, cocoa, and species and other commodity. Next slide. So this is slide I will present about for the export Indonesian palm oil to the world 2022. So for palm oil, India is still important market for Indonesia export. It contribute 19%, followed by China, Pakistan, European Union, and United States. For the European Union market, which is currently worth attention because EUDR policy is still a destination for Indonesian palm oil trade. So I'll start with a small portion, but the EU is the world translator of EU policy. So this is for the EU, Netherlands, Spain, and Italy are still the main country in European Union with a high contribution Indonesian palm oil export of 86%. Next slide. This is from cocoa. In the case with palm oil, so India is still important market from Indonesia cocoa export, with contribution 17%, followed by European Union, United States, Malaysia, and China. Next slide. For the coffee, the EU is the export destination country for Indonesia coffee product. So with a very strategic share and contribution, 25 higher percent, yeah, it's the ranking first the destination for Indonesia export. So followed by the United States, India, Egypt, and Malaysia. So in the Europa, Germany, Italy, Belgium, and Spain are still the main country for in the European Union with a higher contribution to Indonesian coffee export. Next slide, please. This is the share area of palm oil, cocoa, and coffee in Indonesia. So if we look at the area that plantation, Indonesian palm oil has the area of 16.3 million hectare and controlled by private company at the, I think, 52%, yeah. A smallholder 41%, and a state company and 6%. For the cocoa, currently 1.46 million hectare of cultivated land are cultivated. At least 99% which cultivated by smallholder, and with similar to the for the coffee land of the 1.27 hectare. And 98% of the land cultivated by smallholder. Next slide, please. This is the Indonesian palm oil production. So CPO production in 2016 until 2019 experienced an increasing trend. So while 2019 until 2022 intended to be stable with no significant increase and decrease. So in 2022, Indonesia CPO production will be 58 million tons. Although in the term of productivity, it is 3.6 tons per hectare. So CPO production in 2021 will be produced in 25 provinces in Indonesia. The largest CPO production province is Riau province, which share around 20% of total CPO production in Indonesia. Next slide, please. For the cocoa, production and productivity of the dry cocoa tend to decline 26 until 2022. In 2022, it will reach 67,000 tons with productivity. It's 114 kilogram per hectare. Cocoa production will be produced in the 33 provinces in Indonesia. The four largest cocoa production provinces are located is Sulawesi Island with the share, I think, 16% of the total cocoa production in Indonesia. Next.
Pak Fauzan, your time.
Yes, Bu.
2 minutes left.
Okay, yes, Bu. In this slide 10, maybe. Next, please. This is the increase for strategic and increasing estate crop production in Indonesia. So the estate crop commodity are determined like minically country. So production support it also expected the training counseling activities for farmer regarding the GAP, GHP, quality standardization, and additional plant intensification. This is our target for the increasing of the existing productivity 2023 until 2024. Next, please. This is farmer corporate. So this concept for farmer corporation development, this is farmer who are a member of the large groups must be directly to partnership with off-taker or company that are value added and export oriented. Next slide. This is the pull and push and pull system hierarchization about our targeting about policy for the accelerated sustainable for the downstream program, productivity readiness, and upstream land important factor in the upstream aspect. Next slide, please. This is acceleration of sustainable palm oil production. This strategic program is replanting smallholder palm oil, which is focused in increasing palm oil production, productivity, ISPO, supporting facility and infrastructure for smallholder, increasing for capacity for farmer, and other. Next slide. This is a principal criteria of indicator of ISPO. So ISPO, I think this is sustainable standard of very measurable regulated several aspect in the detail. Next slide. ISPO has met a standard and criteria at 12 target for fulfilling sustainable development goals. Next slide. This is the progress of ISPO certification. Currently, ISPO certificate has been issued 186,400 ISPO certificate, including certificates for company, for the state company, and the smallholder. Next. This is the National Action Plan. So RAN KSB is the government's strong commitment to guarantee sustainable palm oil development. So this is comprehensive map toward increasing sustainable for palm oil production, and reference and guide for the government, business world, GSO, and other international development organization. Next.
Pak Faisal.
Okay, this is yes, Bu.
Sorry,
1 minute
your
again.
time is end.
Okay, this is RAN SKP. Thank you, Bu Asdep. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, please give applause to the second speaker. Thank you, Pak Fauzan, for your explanation about the state crop, especially for productivity and production and export. So for the next third speaker, I would invite Dr. Rizal Afandi Lukman. He will present about Indonesian challenge in facing EUDR for palm oil commodity. Please, 8 minutes from now.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Yuli. Yang kami hormati Bapak Bini Pasaribu, Dirjen Profesor Dr. Satyawan, also esteemed participants, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning, very good afternoon and evening wherever you are, because some of the participants joining through online. And thanking to the opportunity given to the CPOPC. CPOPC is the Council of Palm Oil Producing Country. Is the intergovernmental institution established by Indonesia and Malaysia. Those two countries contributed 84% of the world production for the palm oil. And just this year, we have the third member of the CPOPC, which is coming from Honduras, from Latin America country. So essentially what we have been discussing from the previous speakers is discussing on the effort that done by Indonesian government in agriculture sectors in meeting the sustainability effort, sustainability standard. And we also aware deforestation has greatly altered the landscape around the world, and mainly because of the expansion of the agricultural sector. And this is also, for example, in the Western Europe, about 2,000 years ago, 80% of the Western Europe was forested area. But now, today, the figure is only 34%. While Indonesia, I believe, is more than 60%. And today, I'd like to share with you what we have been doing in producing the palm oil in the sustainably manner. We don't want to produce palm oil while also happen the deforestation, happen degradation. We introduce under the national certification scheme, we introduce so-called Indonesia certification palm oil. In Malaysia, we have also Malaysia palm oil standard for having this sustainable manner. So those two standards, for example, in Indonesia, among the other vegetable oil in the world, for example, palm oil, soya, rapeseed, sunflower, you can name it. Palm oil is the most stringent product. So many criteria, so many standards that has been introduced in producing palm oil. For example, to get the ISPO certificate, there are 7 principles need to comply with the law and regulation. Second, application for good agricultural practices. The third, management of environment, national resources, and biodiversity. Responsibility for the employment, social responsibility, and community economic empowerment. And we also have 39 criteria and 174 indicators for the company to get the ISPO certificate. So many regulations need to meet, need to follow. So you don't have to worry about the palm oil that has been produced in the sustainably manner. Yeah? So I think that's very, very important because the topic is on how to keep the forest area. What we are producing in Indonesia, in Malaysia, and in Honduras, just recently is producing the palm oil in a sustainably manner. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about this. And with regard to the just recently, the EUDR, EU deforestation regulations, actually Indonesia and Malaysia no need to worry too much because what has been elaborated, stipulated under the UDR, which is essentially, it is already available in our ISPO, in our MSPO. So about, for example, on the land legality, the ISPO has been launched in 2009 and has been mandatory for the industry in 2011. And EUDR is, the cut-off date is the December 2020. So the ISPO as well as MSPO that has been launched in 2013 is already long before the cut-off date of the EUDR, first. Second, on the land legality, in order to get the certificate for ISPO, MSPO, the land legality is one of the requirements, meaning that that's the second element that already also comply with the EUDR. And the third element is on the geolocation. Of course, the geolocation with the supervisory of the Ministry of Environmental and Forestry, the forest area has been protected, and now there is a moratorium, there is no new plantation for the palm oil in Indonesia as well as in Malaysia. So therefore, we don't have to worry too much in complying with the EUDR. And in fact, I have this slide in the slide number 1. So if you could just back, yes, next one. This one. This is the graphic export of the Indonesia palm oil to Europe, which is, I think, in the past couple of years has been reached peak in 2019. And because so many regulations need to meet and also part of the trade barrier. So this is some kind like trade barrier, RED2, and now we have the UDR, and coming up is the forced labor. And actually, naturally speaking, our export to Europe is declining, and the market share now is becoming about 10%. And I predicted in the next couple years, our export to Europe even lower and becoming cut by half at the level of 2019. So meaning that first, we don't have to worry in meeting the compliance of EUDR, because we have so stringent, and also we have a high standard for sustainability for the palm oil, whether in Indonesia or in Malaysia. Second, our market is also declining in Europe, meaning that I think we don't have to worry too much. And we only have 1 more year to go before really the EUDR will be implemented in January 2025. So within this 1 year left, I think the industry is already prepared on the traceability tools that they are going to use in connecting between the supply chains in the producer's country, in the grower, as well as in the consuming countries, in the port of Europe. The only concern one is on the smallholders. 1 minute? Okay. 1 minute will be allocated for the smallholders. I need to address this because I think under the EUDR, it was stipulated that for the SMEs has been given until June 2025, meaning that additional 6 months from January 2025. So I think it is fair enough for the producing countries, particular for the smallholders, also will be given time, additional extension for 6 months before really the EUDR will be implemented in January 2025. Thank you very much. So I'll be happy to have this in question and answer. Terima kasih.
Thank you so much, Pak Dr. Rizal, for your insightful presentation. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's move to the fourth speaker, Ibu Diah. Please welcome. Ibu Diah will present about the implementation on forest, agriculture, commodity, and trade FACT roadmap in Indonesia.
Thank
8
you,
minutes
Ibu.
from now ya, Bu.
Ya, thank you, Ibu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I think I will present is very quick presentation. This is about this is about the co-chairing by Action Indonesian co-chairing in the FACT, forest, agriculture, commodities and trade dialogue. This is the forum, very important forum. Next, please. Next. Yeah. I think this is the forum. Very important forum collaboration between major producer and consumer countries. And Indonesia is co-chairing and almost 2 years as a co-chair, and then will be end in this year, December 2023, and then I think this is one of the successful of Indonesia co-chairing for 28 countries, and then the forum is focusing to have the discussion for Indonesia is strategic commodity export to around the world. Next, please. Yeah. I think Indonesia have the roadmap since the Indonesian as agree commitment as a co-chair in the COP 26, is Indonesia leading with the three high-level joint statement is made, and then the country have agreed to work together through FAC as a collaborative platform for dialogue among countries, experts, and other stakeholders. It's very essential for Indonesia because Indonesia take a lead with the at least 5 commodities. This is palm oil, timber, coffee, cocoa, and rubber. Next, please. Yeah, I think the forum is very, it's very tight schedule in each month to have meeting, discussion, all the problem of the commodities, forest and agriculture commodities. And then the meeting, have the 4 working group. This is working group for market and trade. Is Indonesia take a lead. This is Pak Direktur Krisdianto is take a lead as a focal point for the working group market and trade. And then the second is about the supporting smallholders, working group supporting smallholder. As Pak Rizal mentioned, it's very important that smallholders, because 40% of Indonesian producent in the field is smallholders. And then the third is about the transparency and traceability. This is the working group is very important because we are develop all the scheme of the certification dealing with the supply chains, and then also Indonesia is very giving the leading by example in the transparency and traceability. And the fourth working group is research and innovation. Next, please. Yes. Okay, 3 minutes. Yeah, is this the objective? Yeah, the objective is agreed by 28 countries, and then in the Global Secretariat of FAC also they manage all the countries, and then with the 3 objectives. Next, please. Yes. Indonesia as one of the chair of the FAC dialogue is bringing all the 28 countries giving the example and then leading by example in some place in Indonesia from Aceh, Central Kalimantan, Central Sulawesi, Sulawesi, and also in Papua. This is the team coming from the UK and other global secretariat member. They went to the Aceh, and then they are living in the Aceh research station in National Park. And then I think this is one of how the effort of Indonesian government leading to the producing countries for some commodities. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. Yeah, as a co-chairing, Indonesia share experience. In each meeting, Indonesia always share the experience, for example, knowledge sharing, and then also from the local government also giving sharing to the 28 countries about how we are successful in trying to handling the deforestation issues. And then, as a co-chair, Indonesia also find the common ground through the examples, and then support the implementation. We identified a priority of the dialogue to be further discussion during the retreat, and then also during the working group discussion. Yeah. Next, please. Yeah, this is the conclusion. We will have the next year forum. It is forum for Indonesia, giving to the members also, because we will have the new co-chairing, and then Indonesia will giving the handling notes from what Indonesia successful in the co-chair of FAC dialogue. I think, so sorry for a very quick presentation because we have limited time. Thank you, Ibu Yuli. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Ibu Diah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the last but not least, our fifth speaker for today, that he will explain about sustainability, cocoa and coffee forestry, and climate change resilient use landscape approach. Please welcome Dr. Insinyur Imam Soeharto. 8 minutes from now, Pak Imam.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mbak Yuli, also distinguished speaker, Excellency Vice Minister of Forest and Environment, Republik Indonesia, Dr. Musdalifah, Dr. Prayogi, represented by Mas Fauzan, and Dr. Rizal, Mbak Diah. Again, thank you for this invitation. Let I share about our experience on landscape approach for coffee and cocoa, using agroforestry system. This is a 7 years experience that we are working until now. This is the ongoing progress actually. Next slide. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, we actually, Olam Indonesia is part of the global group of Olam International. Yeah, we are working in different countries, more on the 50 countries, and we are operating more than 100, factory worldwide. Next step. Next. Yeah, so in Indonesia, we are focusing on 5 commodities. Yeah, one is cocoa, coffee, nut. Nut is more focused on the cashew and nutmeg, and then spices, mainly for pepper and nutmeg, and also dairy. Next. This is just, where we are, Olam International, and one of the factory is in Tangerang, as you know, PT Bumi Tangerang, and another's in Singapore for Southeast Asia factory for cocoa. Next. Yeah, so now moving forward, actually, I'm going to explain about how landscape approach are implementing in Indonesia in the case of cocoa and coffee agroforestry. Next. So as many scholars know, working in landscape, we usually follow this principle. I'm not going to explain this principle, but let's just share to you that how then PT Olam Indonesia and the partner applying this principle in our project. Next. Okay, next. In cocoa and coffee facing a lot of challenges. Yeah, mainly one is declining crop continuously. I think Dr. Musdalifah just mentioning about this condition. Yeah, and also related to this declining crop because of the limited access on planting material for rejuvenation. On adoption rate also very low. Yeah, every year we count only 5% adoption rate on applying good agricultural practices. One of the key factors because limited access to affordable financing. Yeah. Also, we found that collective action and cooperation and landscape management still need to improve. Yeah. Last but not least, the climate change. I think everybody just mentioning that climate change is one of the key factor that contributing to the declining crop of cocoa and coffee in Indonesia. Next. No, so how to deal with that challenges. No, we in Olam Indonesia, we have a platform what they call Olam Farmers Information System. This platform actually, a platform to register farmers within our program.
Pak Imam,
Currently,
sorry Pak Imam,
yeah.
your time 2 minutes left.
Okay, go ahead then. Go. Down. Yeah, down. Yeah. So we have this kind of training. Go ahead. Just to the just moving the slide, please. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, this is the landscape approach that we are using. No, this is a collaboration with the different parties. Yeah, for example, USAID and GIZ. Yeah, on this collaboration. Next. This is one example how we manage the landscape. Yeah, first of course, this talking with all the stakeholders in the field, especially with the government in different level and also communities. Next. Yeah, and then working group. You can see in the pictures. There's a lot of a participant there. Yeah, especially to make very clear on the role of this private sector the stakeholder. Yeah, where the enabler, chain actor, and also facilitator. Next. The level three actually, the third level actually, way how to negotiate and also lobby for affordable regulation that community or sector needed.
Okay, Pak Imam,
Next.
your time is up.
Can you go to the lesson learned, Mbak Yuli, just for wrap up this?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the lesson learned from this 7 years project actually. One is enabling environment that we really needed from the government or policymaker, how to make this sustainable landscape and agroforestry successful. Yeah. The stakeholder need to have a very clear understanding, and the role and responsibility. Yeah, one is who is the enabler, who is the chain actor and also facilitator or convener. Yeah. Continuous learning, of course, the previous speaker also said about this, and also, there is no single person can claim this is one of our project, etc., and most importantly, the loan, the affordable loan to be accessible to our community. The loan is there, but it's a lack of the loan accessible for them. I think that is, Mbak Julie, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Pak Imam. So sorry because the time is very limited. Okay. Okay, I think it's, unfortunately, our time is limited and we have to end the presentation, so we don't have any time for discussion. Only 3 minutes, maybe only one person have some question? No, from audience? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe for 3 minutes, we would invite for any speaker to have some statement. Yeah, short statement, start from Ibu Mus.
I think through this quite a big experience to all of us, how to develop sustainable in all as a comprehensive manner, collaborative approach, which we call FOLUR in this project. This is the good example to all of us how we can deliberate the sustainability manner in the for the farmer who live around the forest, who will do integrating management for the commodity,
because they need the income to increase the income to have the to have a better wealthy to their own needs, and to have a good education and to have a better life. And also to all the commodity who were already integrated with the system with land use management in this term, we can declare that this is the sustainable product which we can tradable to the global market. Through this real implementing experience and also example to the world, I hope that we can scale up this kind of project to all others area in Indonesia. Thank you.
The next, please, Pak Rizal.
Thank you very much. I think the key word is collaboration. The collaboration is between the growers and the consuming countries. The collaboration between the producing countries and the consuming countries. The collaboration among the smallholders and the industry. And the collaboration among the palm oil producing country also very important. CPOPC is welcoming for the new membership from Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, including also Congo, as well as from some other Latin America countries, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Honduras is already on board, and also Costa Rica. So that's the word of collaboration. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the last, Ibu Dia, please.
Yeah, thank you. I think I want to add one key from Pak Rizal. The key is communication. And then I think Indonesia has to continue with the communication in the fact dialogue, because I think it is the very important 28 countries from producer and consumer countries we have to meet. And then because the whole issue forest, agriculture, commodities and trade is one of the things that Indonesia can always take a lead by example, and then also promoting what we has done in the field. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's all for this session. And I do appreciate for all speaker, audience and crew for the great discussion and the presentation today. Please give heartily applause for the speaker and all the crew and audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
See
Ibu.
you and together better.